And anybody who tells you that he or she knows how the pyramids were built are not telling the truth. But it's not just big, it's really, really precise. And the scale is not random. The number 43,200 is derived from a key motion of the Earth.
If you mention the word Atlantis to any archaeologist, they will tend to roll their eyes.
The fittingly named Eye of the Sahara is by far the most likely location for the lost capital city of Atlantis.
When you look at all of the areas around the planet that have been proposed for Atlantis, I think there's one place that fits the majority of his details, and that's the sunken Azores Plateau.
The Richat structure, often referred to as the Eye of the Sahara, is a remarkable and unique geological formation with some fascinating features. Spanning about 40 kilometers in diameter, it's so large that it can be easily spotted from space. The structure isn't a perfect circle, but rather takes on a slightly elliptical dome shape, adding to its mystique. One of the most striking aspects of the Richat structure is its series of concentric rings. These rings are quite intriguing because they're not all the same. They vary in terms of their width, what they're made of, and how they've eroded over time. This creates a complex, layered look that's quite captivating.
The rim rock of this is late Cretaceous, about 90 million years old. So at that point, it was below the ocean, right? So it's been uplifted. I think this thing is about 14 or 1,500 feet above sea level. So it's been eroded. You see, this whole thing here is like an erosion.
The way these rings have formed is a tale of erosion at work. Over millions of years, forces of nature like wind and water have eroded the dome, unveiling these distinct rings. Each layer of the structure erodes differently, depending on how tough or soft it is, which is why we see this range of rings. Now let's talk about what the Richat structure is made of, because it's quite a mix. The outer rings are primarily made of something called Proterozoic quartzite. This is a very hard rock that's resistant to weathering, and it's incredibly old. We're talking over 600 million years. Quartzite forms from sandstone that's been put under a lot of heat and pressure, so it's been through a lot. As we move towards the inner rings, the story changes. Here we find softer sedimentary rocks like limestone and sandstone. Limestone, primarily composed of calcium carbonate, typically forms in old marine environments. Sandstone, on the other hand, is made up of sand-like mineral particles. Right at the center, the Richat structure has something called siliceous breccia, which is basically a bunch of angular rock fragments stuck together. Breccia usually forms in areas with lots of volcanic activity, or where the Earth's crust has been moving and shaking. All these different rock types in one place make the Richat structure quite special. Not only is it a visually stunning landmark, but it's also a valuable spot for geologists to study.
So the connection to ancient Egypt that Solon draws and Plato passes on is actually very real. It's very solid. And I'm pleased to say that there has now been a full translation of the Edfu text.
When it comes to how the Richat structure was formed, there are a couple of theories floating around. The most widely accepted one is what geologists call the uplifted dome theory. In simple terms, this theory suggests that natural forces beneath the Earth's surface pushed up layers of rock, creating a sort of bulge on the surface. Over time, this dome was worn down by erosion, which is basically the wind and water gradually wearing away the rock. This erosion didn't happen uniformly. The softer rocks wore down faster than the harder ones, leading to the formation of those distinctive concentric rings we see today. Now, there's another, more speculative theory proposed by Jimmy Corsetti. He's got this interesting idea that the near-perfect circular shape and unique layering of the Richat structure might not be all natural. He thinks that ancient human activities might have played a part in shaping it.
The circular ring city was also said to have an opening to the sea at the south, which not only matches the southerly opening of the Richat anomaly, but it even has existing evidence of a flow of salt water that is still visible to this day.
The environment of the Sahara Desert has also played a significant role in the process of the Richat structure formation. The dry, arid conditions mean that wind erosion is particularly influential in shaping the structure. And let's not forget that the Sahara hasn't always been a desert. It has gone through various climatic changes over millions of years, and these changes have influenced the rate and nature of erosion in the region. Some of the rocks there are incredibly old, dating back to over 600 million years ago. This period covers a huge chunk of our planet's past, from about 2.5 billion to 541 million years ago. It's a crucial era for understanding how continents formed and how early life evolved. Now, imagine the amount of time it took to form the Richat structure. It's been shaped over millions and millions of years. A lot of factors played a role in shaping the Richat structure. Movements in the Earth's crust, like the shifting of tectonic plates, have been a big part of it. Then there's the impact of climate changes over the ages, especially in the Sahara region. All these changes influenced the patterns of erosion that gave the structure its current look. And speaking of erosion, it's been the main force sculpting and exposing the different layers of rock in the Richat structure. One of the coolest things about the Richat structure is its distinct circular pattern. As said before, it's so noticeable that astronauts use it as a landmark when they're up in space. This pattern really stands out against the surrounding desert landscape.
If you take the concept of Atlantis seriously, you're regarded by archaeologists and their friends in the media as a kind of lunatic. And I've always found this odd because the source, the earliest surviving source for the tradition of Atlantis, is the highly respected figure of Plato.
Plato's description of Atlantis, found in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, really captures the imagination, doesn't it? Written around 360 BC, these works come from a time when Athens was at the height of its philosophical and cultural influence. Plato was a thinker who loved to dive deep into ideas about society, morality, and reality, and he used these dialogues as a way to explore these themes. It's kind of like he was having a conversation through his characters, which let him present different ideas and arguments. Now, about Atlantis itself, it's described as this massive island city located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which most people think is the Strait of Gibraltar. Plato went all out in describing it as bigger than Libya and Asia combined, which really paints a picture of its mythical size. The city layout is fascinating, with these concentric circles of land and water. Imagine the engineering it would have taken to build something like that in ancient times, complete with canals and bridges connecting everything. The heart of the island, its central plain, was said to be super fertile, perfect for farming, and it was surrounded by high mountains rich in resources and natural protection. And Atlantis wasn't just about impressive landscapes, it was also a hub of resources and technology. Plato talks about it having all sorts of metals, including this mysterious orichalcum as well as gold and silver. The infrastructure was top-notch, with water systems, temples, palaces, and docks. But Atlantis wasn't just about buildings and resources. Plato describes it as having a complex society with its own laws, customs, and political organization. It even had a powerful military. Yet in his story, Atlantis starts as this ideal place and then becomes corrupt and ultimately falls.
Plato includes precise scientific information in the story. And this is what archaeology is ignoring when it says that it's all a fantastical made-up tale. And it's to do with that meltwater pulse 1b that I mentioned, that brought the Younger Dryas to an end 11,600 years ago and raised sea levels massively.
Now let's talk about the theory connecting the Richat structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara, to the legendary city of Atlantis, as described by Plato. It's quite a fascinating topic, especially the ideas presented by Jimmy Corsetti. Here's where it gets interesting. Corsetti and some others have pointed out that these rings bear a striking resemblance to Plato's Atlantis, which in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias was described as having similar concentric circles of land and water. Now, while geologists understand these rings in the Richat structure as a result of natural erosion processes, the similarity to the mythical Atlantis has sparked quite a bit of interest and speculation. When you compare the size of the Richat structure to what Plato described for Atlantis, there seem to be some parallels, although there are notable differences in the exact measurements. Corsetti's theory even suggests that changes like erosion over time could have altered the Richat structure's appearance, possibly bringing it closer to what Plato described. But here's a major twist in the tale. The Richat structure is smack in the middle of the Sahara Desert, while Plato's Atlantis was described as an island in the Atlantic Ocean. This stark difference in geographical context has led to some interesting speculation. Some theorists propose that the landscape around the Richat structure might have been very different in the past, possibly closer to water or even more hospitable than the Sahara we know today.
And he's shown writings on the walls by the priests. And he says, what did these writings say? And the priests then unravel the whole story of Atlantis, and they tell how there was this great advanced civilization, which at one time was extremely beneficial and positive to the world, but which fell out of harmony with the universe.
The Eye of the Sahara is quite an archaeological goldmine. In this particular region, a variety of artifacts have been found, shedding light on the lives of people who lived there thousands of years ago. We're talking about stone tools like arrowheads, scrapers, and axes that were probably used for hunting and crafting. These tools tell us a lot about the daily activities and skills of these ancient folks. Then there's the pottery. Finding fragments of pottery in the area is like getting a glimpse into their domestic life. It shows that they had developed pottery-making skills, which is a big deal in understanding the cultural and technological progress of any civilization. And you know what's even more intriguing? There are hints of more permanent forms of settlement. Although it's not definitive, the remnants of structures could mean that these were not just nomadic people passing through, but a community that settled down. But here's where it gets really interesting: the rock paintings and engravings. These are found on cliff faces and in caves right around the Richat structure. The artwork is not just beautiful, it's like a storybook of ancient life. There are paintings of animals like antelopes, elephants, and giraffes, suggesting a time when the Sahara was teeming with wildlife. Then there are human figures depicted in various activities, giving us a sneak peek into their social and cultural practices. And the symbols and abstract designs might even point to their spiritual beliefs. Dating these rock arts can be tricky, but many are believed to be from the Neolithic period. This suggests that the region had a thriving community during that era. It's not just about finding old stuff, it's about piecing together the story of human habitation and development in the area. The presence of these artifacts and artworks indicates that there was a stable human population at some point. The possibility of permanent settlements, while not confirmed, is certainly tantalizing and calls for more extensive archaeological research. These findings are like puzzle pieces that help us understand the prehistoric Sahara, which was once a greener, more hospitable place than it is today. They tell a story of human adaptation and migration, of how people responded to the climatic changes that turned the Sahara into the desert we know now. It's not just about the history of a particular region, it's about adding to the rich tapestry of African prehistory and understanding the diversity and complexity of early human societies on the continent. Isn't it amazing how much we can learn about our past from the things left behind in the sands of time? The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls is one of the most significant archaeological finds of the 20th century, fundamentally altering our understanding of history, the development of the Hebrew Bible, and the beginnings of Christianity. These ancient manuscripts, found in a series of caves near the Dead Sea at Qumran, offer a rare and invaluable window into the religious, cultural, and historical milieu of the Second Temple period, roughly from 516 BCE to 70 CE. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad Ejdib made an accidental discovery that would forever change the world's understanding of Jewish history, the development of the Hebrew Bible, and the early stages of Christianity. While searching for a stray sheep near the Dead Sea, he stumbled upon a series of ancient scrolls hidden in jars within a cave. This initial discovery at Qumran sparked a wave of archaeological interest, leading to the uncovering of scrolls and fragments from 11 caves in total, dating from the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE. The Dead Sea Scrolls encompass an astonishing variety of religious writings. These include not just biblical manuscripts, but also apocryphal and pseudepigraphal works, sectarian manuscripts detailing the life and beliefs of the Qumran community, and other texts of both religious and secular nature. Among these, the complete or partial texts of every book of the Hebrew Bible, except for the Book of Esther, stand out for their age and value. These texts predate the next oldest Hebrew manuscripts by roughly 1,000 years, offering unprecedented insights into the textual history and evolution of the Hebrew Bible. The significance of these ancient manuscripts extends beyond their age and rarity. They have illuminated the process of canonization and the transmission of biblical texts, revealing variations and evolution over time. Furthermore, the non-biblical texts among the scrolls provide a rare glimpse into the beliefs, practices, and daily life of what many scholars believe to be the Essenes, a Jewish sect living in a monastic community at Qumran. Descriptions of this community, with its strict rules, communal living, and emphasis on ritual purity, align with historical accounts by ancient historians like Josephus and Pliny the Elder, supporting the theory of the Essene connection. Interesting facts surrounding the Dead Sea Scrolls include their status as a potential library of the Qumran community, reflecting the diverse range of Jewish thought during the Second Temple period. The preservation techniques aided by the dry climate of the Dead Sea region and the method of storing scrolls in jars have allowed these texts to survive for over 2 millennia. Moreover, advances in technology have led to the digitalization of the scrolls, making them accessible to a global audience and facilitating their study and preservation. When comparing the Dead Sea Scrolls to other significant ancient religious texts, such as the Nag Hammadi Library, the contrast in their contributions to our understanding of ancient religious thought becomes apparent. While the Nag Hammadi texts illuminate early Christian Gnosticism and include a variety of Gospels and spiritual writings not found in the canonical Bible, the Dead Sea Scrolls primarily shed light on the Jewish context of the Second Temple period. Together, these discoveries highlight the rich diversity and textual complexity of religious thought in the ancient Near East, offering scholars and lay people alike a deeper understanding of the origins and development of these two major world religions. In 1945, near the Upper Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi, an astonishing discovery was made that would profoundly impact our understanding of early Christianity. A local farmer, Muhammad Ali al-Saman, was searching for fertilizer in the soil when he stumbled upon a sealed earthenware jar. Initially hesitant, fearing it might contain a jinn, his curiosity prevailed, leading him to uncover a collection of leather-bound papyrus codices. This find, now known as the Nag Hammadi Library, contained 13 ancient books with over 50 texts, including Gospels such as Thomas and Philip, Acts, letters, and theological treatises that were not included in the canonical New Testament. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi Library was groundbreaking for several reasons. For starters, the text provided a panoramic view of Gnosticism, an early Christian movement that emphasized direct knowledge of the divine as the path to salvation. Before this discovery, our understanding of Gnosticism was primarily based on the accounts of its opponents. The Nag Hammadi texts, however, offered a first-hand look at the rich diversity of thought within early Christianity, challenging the notion of a unified set of beliefs and practices among its adherents. These manuscripts were remarkably well preserved, likely due to the dry, sealed jar in which they were stored for centuries. Written in Coptic, the latest stage of the Egyptian language, they represented translations from earlier Greek writings. The translation of these texts into modern languages has revolutionized the study of early Christian history, making them accessible to both scholars and laypeople. The Nag Hammadi texts delve into spiritual and philosophical themes not prominently featured in the canonical Bible, offering a more mystical and metaphysical view of Jesus and his teachings. They discuss the origin of evil, the nature of God, and the soul's journey, providing a unique lens through which to view early Christian theology. One particularly intriguing aspect of the Nag Hammadi Library is its portrayal of Mary Magdalene. In texts like the Gospel of Philip, Mary is depicted as a close companion of Jesus, sparking debates about her role in early Christian communities and challenging traditional views on the status of women in the early church. This portrayal contrasts with her more limited role in the canonical Gospels and has fueled discussions on gender and leadership within early Christianity. When we compare the Nag Hammadi Library with the Dead Sea Scrolls, we see two vastly different snapshots of religious thought in the ancient world. Together, these discoveries have dramatically expanded our understanding of ancient religious thought, highlighting the complex and diverse beliefs that existed during their respective periods, and illustrating the evolving religious landscape from Judaism to Christianity. In the mid-19th century, an extraordinary discovery was made at St. Catherine's Monastery on the Sinai Peninsula, which would leave an indelible mark on biblical scholarship and the history of Christianity. Konstantin von Tischendorf, a German biblical scholar, during his visit to the monastery, found several leaves of an ancient manuscript in a basket of old parchments that were about to be destroyed. This manuscript, known as the Codex Sinaiticus, dates back to the 4th century AD and is one of the oldest and most complete versions of the Christian Bible written in Greek. The Codex Sinaiticus is truly remarkable for several reasons. It encompasses the complete New Testament, a significant portion of the Old Testament, the Septuagint, a Greek translation of Hebrew scriptures, and the Apocrypha. This makes it one of the few manuscripts offering such a comprehensive view of early Christian biblical literature. Moreover, it contains texts like the Epistle of Barnabas and the Shepherd of Hermas, which are absent from the canonical Bible of most Christian traditions today. The significance of the Codex Sinaiticus extends well beyond its contents. It serves as a crucial resource for the field of textual criticism, enabling scholars to compare its texts with those of other ancient manuscripts to deduce the most likely original texts of the Christian Bible. This insight into the diversity of beliefs and practices within early Christian communities is invaluable, providing a clearer picture of the early church's efforts to standardize Christian texts. There are some fascinating facts about the production and preservation of the Codex Sinaiticus. It was likely produced in one of the major Christian centers, possibly Alexandria, and is an example of the early Christian codex format, which predates the modern book format. Today, the manuscript is preserved and digitized, with portions held in 4 separate locations: the British Library in London, the University Library in Leipzig, the National Library of Russia in St. Petersburg, and St. Catherine's Monastery itself. This digitization effort has made it accessible to a global audience, ensuring its preservation and continued study. An interesting theory about the Codex Sinaiticus involves Roman Emperor Constantine the Great. In 331 AD, Constantine commissioned Eusebius of Caesarea to produce 50 copies of the scriptures for the churches of Constantinople. Some scholars speculate that the Codex Sinaiticus might have been one of these copies, given its early date and the high quality of its production. While there's no direct evidence to confirm this theory, it adds an intriguing layer to the Codex's history. When compared to the Codex Vaticanus, another significant ancient biblical manuscript from the 4th century, the Codex Sinaiticus offers a unique contribution to our understanding of the Christian biblical canon. Although the Codex Vaticanus is slightly older and presents some textual variations, the Codex Sinaiticus is more complete and includes books not found in the Vaticanus. Together, these manuscripts are among the most important for understanding the development and transmission of the Christian biblical canon, providing crucial insights into the text of the Christian Bible during this formative period.